The private garden room at the Fairmont looked like it had been dipped in rose-colored sugar. Pink ribbons cascaded from the ceiling, pale blush balloons floated in careful clusters, and every table was crowned, with tight arrangements, of roses so perfect they seemed unreal. At the center stood a towering cake shaped like a baby carriage, iced in soft pink and trimmed with gold. Natalie's baby shower was exactly what she had envisioned. Tasteful, expensive, and designed so that all attention flowed naturally toward her. I sat near the back, fingers wrapped around a porcelain teacup, observing rather than participating. Around me, nearly 30 women cooed over folded onesies, debated stroller brands with alarming intensity, and compared birth stories as if they were competitive achievements. Natalie glowed in the middle of it all, her hand drifting possessively to her stomach, her smile radiant and satisfied. She had always enjoyed being admired. "This is just lovely," Aunt Susan said as she settled into the chair beside me. "A baby girl. Your mother must be thrilled." "She is," I replied calmly. Susan tilted her head, studying me with polite curiosity. "And you, Catherine? Any plans to give her grandchildren of your own?" Before I could answer, my cousin Emily slid into the empty chair across from us. "Oh, Susan, don't put Catherine on the spot," she said, lowering her voice. "You know, her situation." Susan frowned. "Situation?" Emily leaned closer, her whisper not nearly as quiet as she imagined. "The accident. 5 years ago? The doctor said she'd never be able to have children." Susan's eyes widened in horror. "Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, dear." She reached out and patted my hand. "That must be heartbreaking." "It was an adjustment," I said evenly. Emily smiled with exaggerated sympathy. "But you've accepted it, right? Acceptance is very important. I've made peace with it." Susan nodded solemnly. "That's very brave. Not every woman could handle that kind of loss." "What loss?" My mother's voice cut in. She appeared behind us carrying a plate of petite desserts. Emily answered eagerly. "We were talking about Catherine's infertility, about how strong she's been." My mother's expression shifted, soft pity mixed with something else. I couldn't quite name. "Yes," she said. "Catherine has learned to live with her limitations." The word stung more than I let on. "It must be painful," Susan added gently, "watching Natalie step into motherhood when you can't." "I'm happy for Natalie," I said honestly. "Of course you are," my mother replied. "You've always been supportive, despite everything." Across the room, Natalie clinked her glass. "Everyone, may I have your attention?" Conversation died instantly. "I just want to say how grateful I am," Natalie said, smiling broadly. "Brad and I feel so blessed to be welcoming our little girl." Applause filled the room. "And," she continued, her gaze landing squarely on me, "I know this blessing is especially meaningful because not everyone is able to experience motherhood. Some women face challenges that make it impossible, and my heart truly goes out to them." Several heads turned in my direction. I raised my teacup and took a slow sip. The games began soon after, guessing the baby's birth weight, matching celebrity parents to newborn photos, tasting strange baby food combinations while blindfolded. I played along when necessary, smiled when expected, and checked my watch when no one was looking. 2:47 p.m., 13 minutes to go. My mother sat beside me again. "How are you really doing, Catherine?" "I'm fine." "This must be hard," she pressed. "Your younger sister having everything you were supposed to have." "I'm genuinely happy for her." She squeezed my hand. "It's okay to grieve what you lost." "I'm not grieving. Denial is normal," she said softly. "The doctors were very clear after the accident. You can't have children." "I know what they said." "Then why are you so calm?" "Because I've had 5 years to process." 5 years of carrying this burden," she murmured. "No wonder you threw yourself into work." "My work matters to me. But it isn't the same as being a mother," she said. "Nothing is." Across the room, Natalie opened another extravagant gift. My mother watched her with longing. "Motherhood completes a woman." "Some women feel complete in other ways," she sighed. "Or they tell themselves that." Emily returned, this time with Aunt Margaret in tow. "We were just talking about you," Margaret said brightly, sitting down. "Have you ever considered adoption?" "I've thought about it," I replied carefully. "It's not the same as having your own," she said, "but it's better than nothing." "And it would give your life meaning," Emily added. "My life already has meaning." My mother frowned. "Catherine, you're 41. You come home to an empty house. No husband. No children. That's not..." Someone needs to be honest, she continued. The accident didn't just affect your body, it changed your future. The words hit hard. Margaret nodded sympathetically. You need to grieve properly. Therapy might help. I don't need therapy. The room grew quiet as my mother stood. I'm sorry, everyone, she said loudly, tears welling. It's just painful watching my daughter pretend she's fine when she's clearly broken. Every eye turned toward me. 5 years ago, she went on, Catherine survived a terrible car accident. The doctor saved her life, but not her ability to have children. Pity filled the air, thick and suffocating. So brave, someone whispered. Damaged goods, Margaret murmured. I smiled faintly and checked my watch. 2:59 p.m. 1 minute left. Natalie pushed herself upright, one hand braced against the table, the other resting on her stomach as if to emphasize her point. Catherine, she said softly, but loudly enough for everyone to hear. I want you to know I never take this for granted. My ability to become a mother. She paused, letting the words settle. Seeing what you've lost reminds me every day how precious this is. Several women nodded in solemn agreement. I hope, Natalie continued, that being an aunt to my daughter will give you some small piece of that experience. It's not the same, obviously, but at least you'll get to feel close to motherhood. My mother dabbed at her eyes. That's very generous of you, Natalie. Family takes care of family, Natalie said with a sweet smile, especially those who can't take care of themselves. The clock on the wall ticked softly. 3:00 p.m. At that exact moment, the doors to the garden room opened. A woman in a tailored navy dress stepped inside, pushing an oversized custom stroller designed for 3 children. Inside sat 3 toddlers with matching dark curls and curious eyes, dressed in coordinated outfits that looked straight out of a magazine spread. Their chatter echoed faintly through the room. Every conversation stopped. Behind the stroller, a tall man in hospital scrubs entered, holding 2 infants, one in each arm. Despite the long hours clearly etched into his face, his presence was calm and assured, like someone used to command. The babies blinked at the unfamiliar lights, tiny fists gripping his shirt. My mother froze. Natalie's mouth fell open. The man crossed the room directly toward me. Sorry I'm late, love, he said, leaning down to kiss my cheek. The surgery ran long. Complicated case. I stood, smoothing my dress. How's the patient? Stable, good outcome. He smiled. The woman parked the stroller beside our table. One of the toddlers spotted me instantly. Mama, she called. I lifted her easily, kissing her hair. Hello, sweetheart. The other 2 demanded attention immediately, tiny hands reaching for me. Miss Mama, one announced solemnly. We were only apart for 2 hours, I laughed. Too long, he replied. The man handed me one of the babies while keeping the other cradled against his chest. They were angels, he said. The woman nodded. They ate very well, all of them. My mother's teacup slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. I looked up at her. Mom, I'd like you to meet my family. Silence pressed down like a weight. These are my 2-year-old triplets, I said calmly, and my 6-month-old twins. 5? Aunt Margaret croaked. You have 5 children? Yes. The man smiled politely at the stunned faces around us. I'm Alexander, Catherine's husband. Husband? Emily echoed. We've been married 4 years, I said. Small ceremony, very private. Natalie stared as if the room had tilted. You're married? Yes. Alexander adjusted his grip on the baby in his arms. I'm a neurosurgeon. I came straight from the hospital. One of the toddlers tugged on my necklace. Mama, drink. The woman, Maria, produced sippy cups from an immaculate designer diaper bag. Here you go. My mother sank into her chair. The accident, she whispered. The doctor said. They said I might have trouble conceiving naturally, I corrected. Not that it was impossible. But you told us. I told you what you asked. You filled in the rest. Natalie's hands trembled as she pulled out her phone. Is this real? Alexander chuckled softly. If you want proof, my Instagram is public. Phones appeared instantly. Gasps followed. Photos of our wedding, of 3 newborns wrapped in blankets, of holidays, vacations, birthdays, of 2 more infants announced 6 months earlier. You've been living like this, Emily whispered. All this time. Yes, I said, while you assumed I was miserable. But why didn't you tell us? My mother asked, tears streaming now. Because you never listened, I replied quietly. You decided my story for me. Natalie scrolled frantically. Your company, Cross Medical. I founded it 9 years ago, I said. We design surgical equipment. Her face drained of color. This company made hundreds of millions last year. 347, I corrected. My mother pressed a hand to her chest. You own it? Most of it. Alexander smiled proudly. She's extraordinary. The toddlers wandered toward the cake. Cake? One asked hopefully. Not today, I said gently. Cupcakes at home. They accepted this without protest and returned to me. My mother finally whispered. You let us believe you were broken. I let you believe what you wanted, I said. You never asked the truth. The room remained silent as Maria prepared bottles. Alexander and I fed the twins side by side, an ordinary moment rendered extraordinary only by the audience watching it unfold. They're beautiful, someone murmured. They are, I agreed. And happy, Susan added. I am happy, I said. My mother looked at me, her voice barely audible. Why didn't you need us? I didn't need judgment, I answered. I needed respect. Alexander kissed the baby's head. Catherine built this life herself. She didn't need permission. Natalie's eyes filled with tears, but there was no sympathy left in the room, only realization. For the first time, they were seeing me clearly. And it changed everything. The silence in the garden room stretched longer than anyone seemed comfortable with. 30 women sat frozen, their earlier chatter about baby names and diaper brands feeling embarrassingly trivial now. My mother stared at the twins in my arms as if they might disappear if she blinked too hard. Natalie was the first to find her voice. You should have told us, she said, her tone wavering between accusation and disbelief. All of this, the marriage, the children, your company, we're family. I met her gaze steadily. Family listens, family doesn't assume. We thought you were protecting yourself, she insisted, keeping things quiet because it hurt too much. No, I replied. I was protecting my peace. Alexander gently burped James and placed him back into the stroller. Catherine went through a traumatic accident, he said calmly. What she needed afterward was space, not constant interrogation. My mother wiped her cheeks with a napkin. I only wanted what was best for you. What you wanted, I corrected, not what I needed. She flinched as if struck. For 5 years, I continued, you spoke about me as if I were a tragedy, as if my life ended the moment you decided it didn't look the way you expected. That's not fair, Natalie protested weakly. Isn't it? I asked. You just stood in front of a room full of people and announced my loss like it was part of your celebration. Natalie looked down at her hands. You used my supposed infertility, I said quietly, to make your own motherhood shine brighter. Emily shifted uncomfortably. Aunt Margaret stared at the floor. Maria leaned toward me. Mrs. Cross, the twins will need to be changed soon. We'll head out in a few minutes, I said softly. My mother looked up sharply. You're leaving? Yes. But we haven't talked, she said desperately. We've talked enough, I replied. Natalie stood again, struggling slightly with her balance. Catherine, I never meant to hurt you. I just thought... You thought you were better, I said gently, because your life followed the script. Her breath caught. Alexander placed a hand on my back, steady and reassuring. We don't compare lives in our home, he said. We build them. My mother stood slowly. I called you broken, she whispered, in front of everyone. Yes, I said, you did. I don't know how to fix that. You can't, I answered honestly, but you can stop doing it. She nodded, defeated. Susan stepped forward. Catherine, I had no idea. You must forgive us. We only saw what we were told. You saw what you wanted to see, I replied. A woman without children must be unhappy. That was easier than imagining something different. Emma tugged on my dress. Mama go? Yes, sweetheart, I smiled. I lifted her into my arms, balancing her alongside Lily. Alexander folded the stroller with practiced ease while Maria gathered the bags. Natalie watched, tears streaming now. Will you at least let me be an aunt? Really be one? That depends, I said, on whether you can see me as your equal, not your cautionary tale. She nodded slowly. I'll try. Trying is a start, I said. We moved toward the exit. The pink decorations suddenly felt hollow, like props after a play had ended. At the door, my mother called my name. Catherine. I turned. I was wrong, she said, about everything. I studied her face. The fear, the regret, the realization that she had missed years of my life while standing right beside it. "I know," I said. "And that's something you'll have to live with." We stepped into the afternoon sunlight. The air felt lighter, freer. Alexander smiled at me. "You handled that with grace." "I handled it with honesty," I replied. "There's a difference." The triplets chattered excitedly as we loaded into the car, arguing about which park we were going to. The twins fussed briefly before settling, soothed by familiar voices. As Alexander drove, I watched the Fairmont disappear in the rearview mirror. For years, my family had believed I was broken because my life didn't mirror theirs. They mistook privacy for shame, independence for loneliness, strength for denial. They were wrong. My life wasn't empty. It was full of love, of purpose, of children who called me mama, of a partner who respected me, of work that mattered. I hadn't lost anything. I had simply stopped explaining myself to people who refused to listen. And that, I realized, was the most freeing choice I had ever made.